Hello my friends, as the end of the year, the end of 2017 is still upon us, and I have done my top 10 favorite movies of 2017. It is time for the top 10 worst movies of 2017. Same rules apply, just please keep in mind this is my opinion. It's not going to line up with your opinion, I guarantee you. Everybody watching this is going to have that thought of like, why isn't that movie on here? Other than it being just differing opinions, there are a few reasons I can think of. One, I didn't see it. There's actually a lot of shitty movies this year that I just didn't see because a lot of times I was like, you know what? I'm busy this year. I just don't want to waste my time watching a shit movie. I feel like that is pretty understandable. So there were a lot of shitty movies I just didn't watch, which I'm glad of because there are a lot of shitty movies I did watch and I cannot imagine watching more. Or it might be a guilty pleasure thing. Though the movie is complete crap, there could be a guilty pleasure element to it. I make you the same promise for this list that I made for my top 10 best movies of 2017 list, and that is everybody watching this will disagree with this list at some level. Just the way it is, but we're all here to enjoy. So that's the best I can phrase it, best I can say it. And as I reveal each one, these are my quick thoughts on the movies. Not reviews whatsoever. I do have reviews for every movie listed on this list. Those reviews are here on YouTube. If you want my more in-depth thoughts on the movies, you can search for my name, movie title, movie review, and you'll find it. Monologue is over. Let's drag these pieces of dog shit down to hell where they belong. Starting with number 10. Alright, let's be honest here. Flatliners was a pretty good concept, though it is a remake. We were told it was a sequel because it had Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland was in this movie for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that he was in the original Flatliners. And though it started out as an interesting concept became a boring movie became a messy movie became a disaster. By the end, when people start seeing ghosts or hallucinations, I was out. What happens when you die? A question as old as consciousness, but they bricked it. Number 9. I'm a big fan of the Resident Evil games, not so much the Resident Evil movies. Well, Resident Evil 4 back and Resident Evil 7 anyway. The Resident Evil movies have never represented the Resident Evil games. I don't know why they have the same title other than marketability. But we got ourselves Resident Evil, the final chapter. I can barely tell you what happened in this movie because every action sequence was among the worst shaky cam I have seen in my life. I feel like it's one of those movies where they write it as they film it. They're like, we don't know what's happening next, but hold on, I'm writing. I'll tell you tomorrow when we start filming this. The saving grace of this movie, the reason it's actually lower on the list than I thought it would be, is because the upside is it ended the Resident Evil movie franchise. It's gone, supposedly. In this day and age, you never know, it could come back. Number 8. I will give 2017 this. There were some good horror movies that came out. Wish Upon was not one of them. Man, Wish Upon, like, the moment you realize the main girl in the movie is actually kind of an asshole, you check out. It wants to do 100 things, yet it does nothing. The concept of a messed up genie scenario, that's kind of cool. This movie absolutely is the opposite of kind of cool. Again, a movie with a clever concept that feels like it was put in the hands of a 5-year-old, and this is what we got out of it. Number 7. I watched the trailer to Chips and I was like, that looks terrible. Then I watched the movie to Chips and I was like, I was right. I'll give the trailer that. At least the trailer accurately represented how bad this movie was gonna be. Man, talk about no chemistry whatsoever. Talk about casting swap. Dax Shepard should have played Michael Pena's character. Michael Pena should have played Dax Shepard's character. It's almost like they were like, dude, I want a role reversal. Can we play? Okay, let's swap. Thing about a comedy, just make me laugh and you've done your job. I don't think I laughed in this movie. I might have chuckled once. It was a second-rate Starsky and Hutch that I almost walked out of. Number 6. How does the dude's eyes do it in the trailer? The Bye-Bye Man. The Bye-Bye Man. The screening I was at for The Bye-Bye Man was in Los Angeles because I lived in Los Angeles for the past year, and the makers of the movie, they literally looked around at all these teenagers in this screening auditorium. They were like, we made this movie for a certain demographic, and I'm pretty sure you are exactly what we're looking for. I was like, did you just tell the audience that you think they're idiots? I watched the movie and I was like, no, you absolutely positively told the audience you think they're idiots. From the intro, the very beginning of this movie, it feels like a student film and it just never breaks that. Made for DVD, that's where this movie probably belonged. Number 5. I'm actually torn. Is the Emoji Movie a shitty video game movie or is it just a shitty movie? Because emojis are not video games. This tried to be another Wreck-It Ralph. It was a 99-cent Wreck-It Ralph. The movie was not only boring, it had boring characters. You can just feel the disconnect between the ones who made this movie and the target audience. Target audience being young people. This movie was made by old people who thought they could speak to young people. They saw a market and jumped on it without understanding what the market was. I wanted to give this movie a pass because it is made for kids, but what this movie is cash grab garbage marketing that treats kids like morons. Meh is what you feel when you watch the Emoji Movie. That or ill. Number 4. Yep, unforgettable is quite forgettable. I promise you that. There's one of these movies every year where a crazy person can't take rejection like a champ. They can't just take a knee, so they gotta go nuts, and now we gotta have a stupid movie. Every year, there's at least one. And here we go. And it usually has the worst script, worst performances. The rumor out there is no one wants to work with Katherine Heigl because she's unbearable. I don't know, I can't qualify that, but watching this movie, I'm like, this movie is not doing her any favors. We haven't seen her in a movie in a while, and then she shows up in this thing. This thriller movie is almost a competent comedy. Accidentally so, but it's not. It's neither. It's neither thrilling nor funny. It's just fucking sad. Number 3. Alright folks, I have a complex history with Michael Bay, because without him, I wouldn't have started doing videos on YouTube. Had I not ranted about Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, I would not be here to tell you Transformers The Last Night, it has not gotten better. It's only just gotten longer. That's the thing these movies do. Every movie butchers the Transformers lore a little more. Every movie seems a bit longer. In every movie, the humor's even more awkward. But I sit down in every one of these fucking things. I'm like, maybe this is the one that's gonna break the mold. And then I see Stanley Tucci cracking jokes at the very beginning as Merlin, and I'm like, nope. As Catfish and Sewer Shark once said, here we go again. Oh yeah. That's a deep cut. But as far as I give a shit, these Transformers movies, they can just end. Transformers The Last Night does not have the touch, nor the power. Number 2. Had David Fincher directed The Snowman, it probably would have been alright. But he didn't, and I hated this movie when I watched it. And I hated this movie even more as time went on. Like every month, every day, I was like, I hate that Snowman movie even more. Talk about a bore, a snooze. This movie had nothing going for it. Michael Fassbender looked like he was phoning it in. Val Kilmer's in it, kind of. It's a boring murder mystery that made no sense. It had these side storylines and these side story arcs that you're like, what's the point of all this? It's almost funny how terrible it is. Every time I revisited my top 10 list, the Snowman crept up higher and higher and higher. And I'll be honest with you guys, full disclosure. Once I found out who the killer was in this movie, and then I watched a horribly choreographed scuffle, I was like, you know what? If I leave now, I can beat the rush. I can beat the traffic. Because there's nothing that's gonna happen in the last 5 minutes that brings it home for me. Someone could pop out of the screen with one of those big checks and be like, Jeremy, you stuck around for the end. You just won $10 million. I'd be like, whatever, your movie's still dog shit. Can I please leave and beat the traffic? Number 1. You already know what it is. There's no mystery at this point. You know what this is. I'll give you a couple seconds to realize. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, 50 Shades Darker. It's as bad as you've heard. It's probably worse. This movie's incompetent on every level. There's no chemistry between these two. It's horribly written. Then I learned after I watched the movie, because I was like, that movie was worse than the first movie. Who wrote this thing? Because the script is noticeably worse. Then I heard that they fired the writer of the movie, and the writer of the book's husband wrote the script or some shit. I don't know. I might be churning out rumor mill garbage. Wouldn't doubt it. Whoever wrote this script has no business writing scripts. Whoever directed this movie has no business directing film. The fun kinky sex shit, is that even it? I don't remember any of that. But that's because I've slowly started to forget about this movie as time's gone on. This is laughable if I wasn't crying on the inside. This movie is every bit the Twilight fan fiction it was actually created to be. God, to my knowledge, they're not splitting the third one into 2 movies, so hopefully the third one, the next one, is the last one. This movie came out early in 2017. I was like, I have found the worst until it gets dethroned. Couldn't happen. Nothing could dethrone this thing. So that's it. These are the movies that I walked out of going, you know what? You're securing one video at the end of the year called the top 10 worst movies of 2017. Holy shit. Did you guys watch any of these? I hope not. I don't generally do honorable mentions in the top 10 best and top 10 worst movies of the year videos that I do. No slight against anyone who does. I completely understand why you do. There certainly could have been honorable mentions in this video. I looked at it. I was like, there are 15 to 20 possible movies that could be in this top 10 list. So if there was a movie you were like, why wasn't it on there? Oh, it deserved to be. It's just you gotta whittle it down to 10. But for me, in my way, it kind of seems like if I was watching the Olympics and they were like, all right, guys, here's an honorable mention or a 4th place medal. You gotta be on the list or you're just not on the list. However, I have kind of run into a fun idea of that Stardust app that people are using. If you don't know what it is, there's an app called Stardust and you can react to a movie for like 30 seconds or review it. You yourself can review movies on Stardust. And I've done a few reviews on there before this. So a fun thing I kind of thought of is in order to not bog down these videos with honorable mentions, I can actually review the honorable mentions there and be like, hey, here's another honorable mention of the top 10 worst list. Didn't quite make it, but here's my Stardust review. I put a link below to my profile on Stardust. Go follow it if you like. It could be kind of fun, an extension of these videos. When I'm done with the worst, I guess I'll do the best. Which is kind of ass backwards to the way I do it on YouTube, but whatever. It's new stuff. I like fun new stuff. All right, guys, so your top 10 worst movies of the year, you gotta whittle it down to 10. Which is the point, right? It's really hard, especially this past year. 2017, man, it gave us some shiners. But what is your list of the top 10 worst movies of 2017? Whatever it is, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.